I now invite Professor Pieter Derks to set forth the grounds on which a decision to confer an honorary doctorate on Professor Carol Riff is based.
Dear Dr. Carol Riff, it's a great honor for me to explain to you and everybody present at this solemn occasion why the University of Humanistic Studies has decided to bestow an honorary doctorate upon you. Let me start by saying that I take it for granted that everybody accepts that your scientific and scholarly work is of the highest quality. Your own review article, Psychological Well-Being Revisited, just published online, supplies sufficient evidence for this and for the wide impact of your work since 1989. Scientific quality is a conditio sine qua non for an honorary degree. The University of Humanistic Studies, however, has more specific reasons for conferring it on you. First, your research deals with themes that are key to the teaching and research at the University of Humanistic Studies. You developed a concept of psychological well-being that is theoretically rich and starts from the conviction that research on well-being should not only deal with feeling good, happy, positive, or satisfied with life, but needs to encompass the meaning-making, self-realizing, striving aspects of being human. Your theoretical model and measure of well-being incorporates 6 components: purpose in life, autonomy, personal growth, environmental mastery, positive relationships, and self-acceptance. This theoretical model has proven very fruitful. To date, over 350 publications using your so-called eudaimonic scales of well-being have appeared in more than 150 scientific journals. For the University of Humanistic Studies, it is important that your concept of psychological well-being provides a bridge between our research on meaning in life and an enormous reservoir of empirical research results. Another prominent theme which connects your research with ours is resilience. You define it as the maintenance or recovery of health and well-being in the face of cumulative adversity. You conceive the study of resilience as dealing with the question how people sustain positive outlooks and functional capacities as life challenges multiply. The link between mental resilience and experiencing life as meaningful is what especially interests us. Perhaps this link can be found in the ability to reframe troubling situations and to reconfigure one's view of life and the world. Your investigations of resilience are a source of inspiration for us. Your work not only helps us to tackle the themes of mental resilience and a meaningful life. You are not only a professor of psychology. One of the main research themes of the University of Humanistic Studies is aging well. And since 1995, you are also the director of the Institute on Aging at your university, the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Prominent in your aging research is the MIDAS longitudinal study, MIDAS meaning midlife in the US. More than 400 publications have been generated by the data. A major MIDAS publication is How Healthy Are We? the 2004 book you edited together with Gilbert Brim and Ronald Kessler. The study of aging and the life course through the lenses of resilience and psychological well-being brings you close to the heart of our own research. The major objective of Midas is to understand the interplay of biological, psychological, and social factors as people age from early adulthood through later life. This refers to a second reason to give you an honorary doctorate. Your research is multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary in an exemplary way, integrating psychology, sociology, neurology, biology, and medicine. The University of Humanistic Studies has been focusing its teaching and research for 25 years now on meaning in life in a just society. And in doing this, it has combined and will continue to combine approaches from the humanities and the social sciences, psychology included. Your conception of well-being builds on ideas of Aristotle, the philosopher, and you have already told me to be very interested in contributions from the humanities to your research. We would be delighted to play a meaningful role in this. A third reason for your honorable distinction today is that your work clearly is not only motivated by intellectual curiosity and a desire to increase knowledge. It is also motivated by a concern for social justice and by a humane engagement with the well-being of individual human beings and with the development and destiny of the American and other societies. This could already be guessed on the basis of several of your publications, for instance, the article on social inequalities in health, and the important book, The Self and Society in Aging Processes. Your continuing research interest in Milwaukee's African American population, with its high unemployment among adult males and its high infant mortality rates, is also telling in this respect. However, the phone call I had with you in June last year, in which we talked about the work of the Italian economist Luigino Bruni on capabilities and happiness, definitely confirmed this impression. Your moral motivation also shows in your work on aging. An example can be found in your article Psychological Well-Being in Adult Life, from which, to conclude, I quote the following. Older adults recurring lower self-ratings on purpose in life and personal growth warrant attention. These patterns point to possibly important psychological challenges of later life and may support related arguments that contemporary social structures lag behind the added years of life many people now enjoy. That is, opportunities for continued growth and development and for meaningful experience may be limited for older persons today. An alternative hypothesis is that older persons place less value on personal growth and purpose in life than do younger age groups. However, we have had respondents rate their ideals of well-being, and these data challenge the notion that the aged no longer idealize continued self-development or purposeful living. End quote. The University of Humanistic Studies practices higher education and scientific research from humanist norms and values, so it is fitting for us to also point out your moral motivation and honor it. For all these reasons, it is a great pleasure for me to have the privilege of conferring this honorary doctorate in Humanistic Studies on you. pro potestate legibus nobis concessa, ex autoritate magistrorum universitatis studiorum humanisticorum collegii decreto, ego Peter Derks, te Carol Riff, propter insignia tua merita doctorem honoris causa, pronuncio atque declaro, inque te confero omne ius omniaque privilegia que legibus vel moribus doctoribus rite creatis constituta sunt.
I am deeply honored by this tribute to my work. Indeed, I'm honored far more than I can say. The mission of the University of Humanistic Studies is bold and noble, and it's greatly needed in our contemporary world. My own scholarly journey, as Peter described, has pursued many of the same ideals: meaning, purposeful engagement, self-realization. Ironically, it is in the confrontation with challenge and adversity that these human ideals are most truly revealed. Hence, the beauty of the idea of human resilience. My commitment to link these qualities to biology and neuroscience and health has been to demonstrate their true power, which gives us the basis for and the rationale for why we should create societies that nurture these humanistic ideals. For the young people here today, I would like to note that my journey as a scientist, as a researcher, pursuing these humanistic questions has not been one of abundant praise, applause, and acclaim, which is another reason why this occasion is so important to me. But the absence of applause along the way, we all may learn, is where we discover our tenacity, our persistence, and we find the deeper meanings and objectives in the work that we do, and we discover our own resilience. In going forward, I would underscore the noble mission, again, that is guiding your institution. I wish you the very best in pursuing this profoundly important vision, and I look forward to working with you in whatever way I can to advance these ideals. Thank you.
I now invite Professor Carlo Leget to set forth the grounds on which the decision to confer an honorary doctorate on Professor Joan Tronto is based.
Dear Professor Tronto, dear Joan, the world will look different if we move care from its current peripheral location to a place near the center of human life. As we transform current moral boundaries to focus on an integral concept of care, we will also need to alter other central aspects of moral and political theory. We will need to rethink our conceptions of human nature, to shift from the dilemma of autonomy or dependency to a more sophisticated sense of human interdependence. Furthermore, we will recognize how our current moral and political theories work to preserve inequalities of power and privilege and to degrade others who currently do the caring work in our society. Anyone familiar with your work will immediately recognize these words as a famous passage in your book, Moral Boundaries, which was published in 1993. This passage has been quoted by many scholars ever since, and they capture much of what you have tried to achieve in the 20 years following this seminal book. Your work has been a great inspiration to many scholars of various disciplines in a large number of countries who convene under the umbrella of ethics of care. And if there are any striking similarities between the ethics of care and the University of Humanistic Studies, one of them undoubtedly is the combination of a modest position in relation to mainstream science and a not so modest ambition to contribute to a more just and humane society in which every human being can flourish and enjoy a meaningful life. Your acceptance to receive an honorary doctorate from this university, which celebrates its 25th anniversary, gives us the opportunity to commemorate the reasons why we are so grateful for what you have given us. I would like to mention 3 of these reasons and elaborate a little on them. In the first place, you have provided a major contribution to the development of the ethics of care, the interdisciplinary approach that is the subject of a unique master studies at this university. The ethics of care was born out of the critical observation of Carol Gilligan that girls structurally scored lower than boys in psychological tests which were based on Lawrence Kohlberg's theory about the moral development of children. Analyzing these lower scores, Gilligan discovered a different voice, an alternative to the mainstream approach to ethics in which a caring approach could be discerned. Gilligan's book was followed by what has become known as the justice versus care debate in the 1980s that was framed in terms of gender issues. It has been your great merit to transform that debate by pointing out the misguided presuppositions that united both sides of the discussion. Working from originally feminist political theory as your first discipline, you reframed questions, bringing the political dimension of care to our attention. That political dimension of care has become one of the major critical insights of ethics of care has been able to offer to the world ever since. The famous definition of care you developed together with Berenice Fischer and the 4 and later 5 phases of care that are central to your work have become central to the body of knowledge of the ethics of care. That automatically brings me to my next point. Your way of working is an excellent example of academic life at its best. Not a competitive and dehumanizing self-centered industry of knowledge and careers, but an issue-driven and humanizing contribution to the problems of real people in society that are often invisible or silenced. The texts you have written show how a critical rethinking and a rigorous analysis of society can change the way we look at the world. And more than that, you are also an advocate for people who are marginalized along the lines of gender, race, and class by market forces that misallocate caring responsibilities. You stand on the barricades for gay and lesbian rights. You actively contribute to making the world a more caring place and making caring more just. Reading your work, one witnesses the creative process of reconceptualizing what we thought we understood so far about care. One of the great merits of your work consists of inspiring debates and inviting us to think beyond traditional boundaries, not closing them. In the preparation of this festive event, we have collaborated with scholars from different European countries in order to make a gift for you in the form of a book, Moral Boundaries Redrawn, a reflection on the debate that has been going on for the past 20 years about your seminal work and which will be presented to you tomorrow. In this book, to which you contributed yourself, you give us insight into what inspired your thinking, how it has developed into the work Caring Democracy that appeared last year, and what is needed for the future. Moral Boundaries Redrawn is a great testimony of how you consider yourself to be one voice among many in an ongoing critical debate that we are happy to continue during the conference tomorrow. In the third place, you have proven to be a fruitful and inspiring thinker and teacher of scholars from a wide range of disciplines. Your work has been well received both in Europe and the United States. In the book just mentioned, you give insightful descriptions of this reception. And speaking of Europe, it is telling that 17 out of 24 leading colleagues interviewed for our website ethicsofcare.org mention your work as the most important must-read. These colleagues come from different disciplines, but what unites them is heavily inspired by the way you conceptualize care as a practice that is a decisive element in a humane world. You are also a great teacher at this university, thanks to the visionary initiative of Henk Mansholt, who invited you. We were lucky to have had you as a visiting professor in 1994, 20 years ago today. And you've returned to Europe many times afterwards. Often, after your work had been translated into French or Italian, for example, you crossed the Atlantic again to think along with us and engage in a critical dialogue. I think it's just to say that your early work and the way you collaborated with many Dutch colleagues 20 years ago has helped to introduce and develop the ethics of care in the Netherlands in its early stages. We are both proud and happy to have a unique Master in Ethics of Care and Policy at this university, and this honorary doctorate that you will receive today is also an expression to what you have meant for this university in this respect. People do not receive honorary doctorates just for being a kind and humane person. Nevertheless, you must forgive me for not saying a few words about your personality. One of the boundaries that are redrawn in your milestone book is that between the public and the private sphere. The way you are present in public, accessible, open, positively contributing and stimulating, is a living testimony of one of the ways in which this boundary can be redrawn to the benefit of all those who wish to participate in intellectual debates. I hope that we will be enjoying your kind and magnanimous presence again during the following 2 days of working together and in many years to come. Pro potestate legibus nobis concessa ex autoritate magistrorum universitatis studiorum humanisticorum collegii decreto ego Carlo Leget te Joan Tronto propter exignia tua merita doctorum honoris causa pronuncio atque declaro, in que te confero omne ius omniaque privilegia qui legibus vel moribus doctoribus rite creatis constituta sunt.
Rector, Board of Governors, faculty, students, friends. When I first started to study care, people would say to me, "What, care? Do you mean health care? You mean child care? Do you mean elder care? I know you mean subsistence for the poor." All of that, I'd say. "What?" They would say. "Oh, I get it, you're a feminist. You mean women do care." "No, everybody does care and everybody receives care." "What?" Honestly, it was enough to make me go mad. I thought I would go crazy. Instead, I came to Holland. This is a wonderful opportunity because it allows me to, it's a great honor, but it also allows me to thank my Dutch friends who invited me here, first in 1991, under the auspices of the University of Utrecht's Schurman Center, Selma Sevenhausen, and then in 94, with Henk inviting me to be a guest professor here at this University of Humanist Studies. So I am delighted to have had, over the last 20 years, an elaborate collaboration with many of my Dutch colleagues who have been instrumental in helping us to rethink what care means. I will only say that in the future, there will be no just society that does not consider the question of just caring. And on the other hand, we will never escape the grip of neoliberal capitalist individualism unless we begin to talk about the fact that humans live interdependently with others and must always take care of themselves, of others, and our world. I thank you very much for this honor.